In EU4, the nation Wallachia is situated in modern-day Romania, and if a starting ruler dies before 1477, you have the option to put on the throne a man with a reputation of being the most evil ruler in the world during this time. This man is known as Vlad the Impaler. He is often considered one of the most important rulers in Wallachian history, and is now a national hero of Romania. He was a great warrior, and loved his country in times of great uncertainty. In EU4, the achievements, missions, and national ideas are all inspired by him, due to the things he did to his enemies. One mission in particular that is mental is impaling the Sultan, which means that both the Ottoman Sultan and his heir die if you complete it. So who is this man, and what made him so famous that even Dracula himself was inspired by him? In this video, you'll find out whether Vlad the Impaler was really as evil as he was portrayed to be. Also, we are less than 1,000 subscribers away from 40,000. So please do consider clicking that button, as it's a great way to keep up with my history content and other videos we put out. We begin our story in the early 15th century, where Vlad was born in 1431 to a royal family that was in control of Wallachia. His father was in charge of the realm and bent the knee to the Ottoman ruler. Due to the geographical location of the country, Wallachia was in constant turmoil, with the Ottomans attacking the Christian countries around it. In 1442, the Ottoman Sultan invited Vlad's father to a meeting, and the Wallachian prince brought his sons to educate them on diplomacy. When the family arrived, they were captured and taken prisoner in the Ottoman court. Although Vlad II was released, his sons would remain hostages within the Ottoman court, and so Vlad the Impaler was under Ottoman captivity earlier in his life. During this time, both the captured princes were tutored in a number of subjects, such as science and philosophy, and Vlad became a skilled warrior and horseman, although some also speculate at the time he was tortured to a certain extent. The Ottomans were keen to instill fear into the princes, so that when they took over from their father, they would remain loyal to the Ottomans. Vlad's younger brother had a particularly close relationship with the Ottoman ruler, which was in stark contrast to himself. Some speculate that while his brother joined the Turkish side, Vlad the Impaler was bitter that they had captured him, and by the time of his release, he had a large amount of resentment for the Ottomans. In the year 1447, Vlad the Impaler was released, when his father was assassinated by local noblemen, and his elder brother was blinded and buried alive. With Ottoman support, Vlad was able to capture the throne in 1448, but another man by the name of Vladislav II came back to his land and kicked Vlad off the throne. Vlad the Impaler was then exiled for a number of years, waiting for his chance to take back the throne for himself. Eventually, with the support of Hungary, he took the Wallachian throne for a second time in 1456. Once Vlad controlled the throne, he wanted to punish those who betrayed his father and brother, and also he wanted to consolidate his power. Vlad therefore invited the boyars who participated against his family to dinner. When they arrived, he had his guests stabbed, and then impaled them all on spikes, with this being his most preferred method of killing his enemies. This provided stability in the realm, and instilled fear into his enemies, with his reputation growing from this point. With a large number of internal and external enemies, it's no wonder why he decided to become so ruthless, so people would think twice about crossing him. In 1457, Vlad took advantage of a Hungarian civil unrest, and raided bordering Transylvanian villages. He impaled villagers that remained loyal to the Hungarian king, and plundered for loot. These sorts of events would make him bold, and eventually he refused to pay tribute to the Ottoman Sultan, and according to one source, impaled the diplomats that were sent to him. The Ottoman Sultan then sent one of his commanders to organise a meeting and ambush him. Once Vlad found that out, he instead ambushed the Ottoman army, killing the entire Ottoman force, and used gunpowder to great effect. Vlad then invaded the northern part of the Ottoman Empire while Mehmed was busy. He proudly wrote to the Hungarian king that he had killed more than 23,000 Turks and Bulgarians, and wanted assistance with his invasion of the Ottomans. Vlad's victories were spoken of in Europe, and even the Pope was impressed. Many Ottomans then feared Vlad, and then fled from the European side of the empire. When Mehmed heard of the defeats, he then raised an army of 150,000 strong, and marched on Wallachia, with Vlad's younger brother, Radu the Handsome, at his side. Vlad the Impaler was heavily outnumbered with no support from Hungary, and so pursued a scorched earth policy against the Ottomans. One famous and bold move Vlad made was when he freely went into the Turkish camp, disguised as a Turk, to learn about the organisation of the Ottoman camp defence. At night, he then attacked the Turkish camp and tried to find the Sultan's tent to stab him in the back, but could not find the right tent. The Wallachians then fled back into the mountains. During the Ottomans' military campaigns, they stumbled upon Vlad's impaled victims. The Ottoman Sultan then said it was not possible to deprive of his country a man who had done such great deeds, who had such diabolical understanding of how to govern his realm and his people. Vlad's younger brother, Radu the Handsome, was placed on the throne, and Ottoman janissaries were then sent to attack Vlad in the mountains. Although Vlad defeated Radu and the Ottomans in battles, a lot of Wallachians deserted Vlad for Radu. Eventually, Hungary came to Transylvania in November 1462 and imprisoned Vlad the Impaler, despite the resistance from the Pope. Vlad was then imprisoned for over 13 years, until eventually the Hungarian king released him. Vlad was then able to take back the throne for the third and final time in 1476. This reign would not last long, however, and Vlad was ambushed by the Ottoman troops, and they decapitated him to bring his head to the Ottoman capital. Throughout Vlad's life, he killed thousands of people in incredibly cruel ways, and inflicted terror on people throughout the region, meaning he probably is one of the most evil rulers around the start of EU4. However, many argue it was necessary to gain the psychological advantage against the far superior enemies he had. But can you do what Vlad couldn't, and impale the Sultan in EU4? Thank you guys for watching, and check out some of my other history videos.